警示篇，成熟庄稼的标志, the symbol of ripe crop. 春风, September 12010. The time for the harvest of crops will mark the end of this system. Angels will carry out the harvesting. Jesus. Xiefeng's Manifesto. To corrupt officers and dark power. Xiefeng. December 3, 2013. Translated by Tsong Long. In today's peaceful China, there still exists a group of corrupt officers and dark power who violate laws, bully the kind, confounding black and white, and stop at no evils even in broad daylight. We have walked to today and have suffered enough bullying and humiliation from corrupt officers and dark power. We cannot stand it anymore, and I hereby want to declare war on you. Numerous people have sacrificed their precious life in order to realize the loftiest ideal and for the interests of all humanity. Their blood cannot be paid in vain. Today, I want to take over previous martyrs' unfulfilled cause and will fight to death for this great ideal. Today, we have realized the absolute communal lifestyle within a small group, and you want to nip this flower in the bud, but I tell you, it is impossible. You have used despicable means by threat, intimidation, and slander, damaged the road, cut the power and telephone cables, broke the water pipe, grabbed the camera by force, shoved young kids, and harassed community members at night to forcibly occupy the home of many kind and diligent people and order them to move out. You use your power to commend the Public Security Bureau, including the Domestic Safeguard Team, to create difficulties and make sufferings to our souls. You threat and intimidated the landlords to terminate our lease contracts and stated that you wanted to drive the entire community away from Yunnan province within the next 3 to 4 months. You have committed innumerable crimes and lost your humanity. You people intruded into our home and searched our rooms and acted viciously. We were around by you. You intimidated local villagers to besiege us and forced your way in. You took pictures and videos arbitrarily and deleted the data in our camera by force. You came without presenting any documents or identifications, but only give verbal orders. Are you people different from bandits? Because we are a group of people who voluntarily gather together to have a communal way of life, and we did not register with any relevant government departments, you then stated that we are an illegal organization. I want to ask you, what is the meaning of illegal? We never violate Chinese laws or commit crimes, and we never harm nature, the society, and people's life. Is it illegal that we choose a communal lifestyle? Are your behaviors legal? You organized 40 people to besiege us for almost 2 weeks and forcibly occupied our home without giving us any compensation. What kind of people are you? You came as a team of about 16 police officers just to request some of us to get temporary residence permits. What do you want to do? You want to show us your strong power? President Mr. Xi Jinping has told you to value the initiative of masses. The third plenary session of 18 Central Committee has approved that CPC should encourage the initiative of masses. Did you not hear it, or you do not understand it? Do you want to go against with Central Chinese government? You think that you can do anything as long as you are in authority. You think you can bully people and prey on them arbitrarily. You think that we are afraid of you. Let me tell you, you are wrong. Civilization is never afraid of barbarism. The good is never afraid of the evil. Brightness is never afraid of darkness. The masses are never afraid of corrupt officers. We will never succumb to your despotic power. No way. How long can you continue this reckless attack? And how long can you still cover the sky and tyrannize us? Let us see whether you will make us die of famine or short of resources. Let me tell you, your last day is coming soon. You are making your last crazy attacks and death struggles. God's mill grinds slow but sure. Your wickedness will be unable to escape the net of justice. 不要试图控制别人. Do not attempt to control others. 春风, March 5, 2011. Who should be controlled? Answer: livestock, poultry, idiots, maniac, mental patients, criminals. Who will control them? Answer: feedlot, mental health hospital, penitentiary, prisons, and the staff members of these institutions. Apart from those mentioned above, man should not seek to exercise control over each other, with the exception of special organizations. Men should establish an equal, friendly, mutually respecting and honorable relation. There should not be any attempt of mutual control. If you attempt to control others, then you regard them as animals, or idiots or maniacs or prisoners. The slave owners in the age of slavery controlled slaves. Thus, when some people want to control others, they are treating them like slaves, or they are regarding themselves as the jailers and the people they attempt to control as the criminals. In the normal society, man should not attempt to control each other. If so, you are despising and trampling on human right and human dignity, and actually you are committing a crime. It can be said without exaggeration that a person who wants to control another normal person is a criminal, or a maniac who is inflicted with mental disorder. We should ponder over it and be vigilant if the above definition has its meaning and value. Most couples are trying to control each other, either in economy, emotion, body, thought, spirit, or soul. In one word, there are traces of mutual control between husband and wife. In this sense, most of husbands or wives are in essence criminals or mental patients. Of course, a criminal will not regard himself as a criminal, and a mental patient will never think of himself as a mental patient. Once he regards himself as a mental patient, he is not a mental patient anymore, but a normal person. There are also mutual controls between lovers and sweeties. Therefore, infatuated lovers or sweeties also smack of mental disorders. Some parents who still exercise control over their grown-up children are actually criminals. Some children who exercise control over their parents are not only criminals, but also mental patients. In the normal organizations, it is normal for the higher authorities to control the lower authorities. But it is abnormal for one to be controlled by his superior, because such superiors are taking their inferiors as their slaves and taking themselves as the masters. Any phenomenon of controlling or being controlled is absolutely abnormal, no matter whether it occurs in the politics, religion, culture, production, or cultivation and refinery, or in life and family and social intercourse, with the exception of those cases where control is necessary. The person who exercises control is either a criminal or a mental patient. Controlling others is actually paramount to depriving other people's freedom. Poultry and livestock have no freedom. Maniacs or mental patients should be monitored during their illness. Prisoners should not enjoy freedom during their service in the prison. A normal person should enjoy complete freedom as endowed by the Constitution. Aren't we criminals if we deprive a normal person of his freedom? If we are not criminals, then we must have suffered some mental problems. Therefore, we must keep it in mind that we should never attempt to control anyone, especially the Chanyuan Celestials. We should never control others, but must fully respect their freedom. In the home without marriage and family of life Changyuan, there should never be the control of man by man, which is one of the main elements of holographic management. When we are currently controlling other people, we must be vigilant. We are either criminals or mental patients. When we try to control others, we must watch out, because we are heading for crimes or schizophrenia. 千万不要试图改变别人. Do not in any way try to change others. Shuefeng, March 5, 2011. The most complicated and most troublesome relation in the world is that between husband and wife. The most saddening and most disappointing relation is that between husband and wife. And the most yearned and most despairing relation in the world is also that between husband and wife. To maintain this relationship, one should be neither too soft nor too tough, neither too close nor too estranged, neither too powerful nor too weak, and neither too indifferent nor too intimate. This relation may look as elusive as thin strands of silk, as hot as fire, and as cold as ice. It is almost impossible to straighten out what is entwined in the relation, and very difficult to explain it in a clear and logical manner. The relation between husband and wife begins with a comedy but ends in tragedy. Don't be fooled by the report of many couples that have developed love in childhood and sustained it all through their lives. This is only an appearance put up under the control and check of various factors. The marriage and the relation between husband and wife is in essence a tragedy. The source of the tragedy is not the lack of money or poverty, is not wealth and rank, is not parents or children, and is not the involvement of a third party or the differences in characters and interests. The source of the problem lies in the fact that both husband and wife intends to change the other party according to their own values and wills. The wife always want to change the husband according to her own values and wills, while the husband always want to impose his own values on the wife. What is the result? Neither the husband nor the wife can change each other, and the so-called change is only temporary compromise and suppression in consideration of various factors. The desire to change others is the beginning of tragedy. Let's ask people who have been husbands and wives, or are now husbands and wives, if they have changes the other party. The more you want to change the other party, the worse the relations between husband and wife will be. Don't you think so? Why is the desire to change others the beginning of tragedy? It is more difficult to change man's natural disposition than to change rivers and mountains. It is a painful thing to change one's natural disposition, not only for the person that asks others to change, but also for the person asked to make the change. It is extremely arduous, painful, and also perverse to nature to change rats into cats, cats into dogs, dogs into men, and man into another self. In addition, because of each individual's predestined relations and evolutions in previous life and transmigration, people each have their own peculiar track of life and life, which is a plot of screenplay that has already been written in their own life. That we want to change others is actually paramount to changing the track of other people's life and going against Tao. The result is just imaginable. All the effort can only prove to be futile and will lead to tragedy. If husband and wife who are mutually related in interests and deeply in love with each other cannot change each other, then it would be more difficult for people in other interpersonal relations to change each other. The parents attempt to change their children and vice versa. The friends, neighbor, and relatives attempt to change each other. All these will end in tragedy. Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, and Celestial Lao Tzu have left us with many teachings, but they had never attempted to change anybody. They were simply reasoning with us and offering guidance to us. Only devils and their offspring desire to force their will upon others. Men should never attempt to do anything to change others or do anything that may be a strain on energy and does not produce good results. Man should not do anything impossible, should not cause tragedy to himself or other people, especially between husband and wife, between parents and children, and between friends and lovers, between masters and disciples, and between teachers and students. The best approach is, I respect your will, your choice, your hobbies and interests, and your character. If we are compatible with each other, we can get along with each other happily and joyfully. If not, we just go our different ways. If we vary too greatly in views, we can break up in good manners and follow our respective ways. Do not attempt to change any other creatures and lives, including man, of course, except yourself. The more intimate the relations between men are, the more important it is for them to respect each other's will and character. Be sure not to try to change the other party with your own values and outlook on life. Do not attempt to impose your own will into the other party, otherwise, you may become estranged and part company, each going your different ways, no matter how close you have been to each other. How can we prove that we ourselves are right? There is no way to prove. What seems to be a misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Even if someone has suffered a misfortune, how we can know the meaning and value implied in such misfortune? How can we know that such misfortune may actually turn out to be a blessing? The conclusion. Do not try to change or transform the other, and just change yourself if you cannot endure. In this way, you will not create tragedy, and in this way, you may enjoy more intimate relations. In this way, you will have broader space to utilize your talents. In this way, you will have the mien of a celestial being. 人类生存岌岌可危，急需改变生产和生活模式。The survival of mankind is in great danger. The production and life model needs to change immediately. Xiefeng, August 1 SD 2017. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. According to a report that was released on August 1 Staff 2017 in the Worldwide Fund for Nature, people would have consumed the full year's supply of renewable resources for 2017 by August 2 2017. The report pointed out that, by August 2nd of this year, we will have used more natural resources than the Earth can replace during the entire year. This means that during the first 7 months, our carbon emissions have been more than all the oceans and forests will recycle for the full year, and that we will have caught more fish, cut down more trees, harvested more food, and used more water than the Earth will replace during the year, so that during the following 5 months, we will be borrowing or overdrawing the benefits that were to have been for future years and offsprings. In April of 2009, I warned everyone that the so-called end of the world in 2012 would not happen, and that rather than doomsday coming suddenly, it will happen gradually to and fro, with more and more serious natural climatic changes. Alas, little changes happen gradually, but great changes take place instantly, and natural climate changes over the past 8 years have fully demonstrated my predictions. If the human race as a whole fail to awaken to this last-minute danger and do not change our traditional production and life model immediately, the entire natural ecology will collapse within 15 to 20 years, and the human race will all be in great danger. During the last 8 years, Life Genuine has been actively engaged in the exploration of and experimentation with a new production and life model, and has found a way to solve the conflict between natural resources and human consumption. Once again, I give warning to everyone today that we urgently need to live according to the production and life model created by Life Genuine. If we do not act now, it will be too late. 为自己活，不要为谁活. Live for yourself, never for others. Xiefeng, April 30th, 2010. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. The most selfish people in the world are those who claim to live for others. The most selfless people in the world are those who admit to living for themselves. The greatest creator creates every life as an individual, endowed with a unique appearance and nature, free will, and a full physiological system. Each individual is given a mission that is uniquely different from all others. As individuals, each of us has our own unique fate and trajectory of life and of human life. It is only when there are diverse, rich, and varied lives that a fantastic world can be constituted. It is the greatest creator's arrangement that every life should live out its own nature. It is only with great selfishness and lack of mercy that we repress others' natures or deprive their natures by persuading or forcing them to live according to our own will, and that is totally against the way of the greatest creator. As long as everyone lives only for themselves, everything will be in order and each of us can live out our own style and live easily. Whoever does not live for themselves but attempts to live for others will exhaust not only themselves but also those who are served by them. The value of Life Genuine is to be responsible to the greatest creator and for yourself. Everyone should live for and be responsible for themselves, as it is only when they live completely this way that all of humanity will be in a state of harmony. If everyone lives for others and tries to be responsible for others, all of humanity will be chaotic and under stress. In fact, there is not a single person in the world who lives entirely for others. Even the greatest prophets, including Christ Jesus and Buddha Sakyamuni, lived for themselves more than for others. They served objectively for others, but subjectively for their own achievements and for completing their missions. I, Xiefeng, the founder of Life Genuine, was motivated to start Life Genuine to lead humanity out of misery, to create the Life Genuine era for all people, on the surface for the human race, but intrinsically for my own benefit. The sages recognize selfishness for its selflessness. The more selfish I am, the more I can achieve and realize myself, and the more I can be a true self and lose myself. In a word, I live for myself and I am responsible for myself, but I never live for others, never bother with others, and never answer for others. Certainly, I do not need others to live for me, bother about me, or answer for me. Every parent gives birth to and raises children for themselves, definitely not for the sake of their children. Any parent who truly does everything with regard for their children would never bring children into this world of suffering with neither the consent of, nor any agreement from those children. Taking care of and raising children and creating conditions to ensure that they receive proper education is for the children on the surface, but is essentially for the parents in order to satisfy their own desires to obtain what they need from those children. These desires include feelings of parenthood, glorification and illumination of their ancestors, passing on their genetic legacy, the need for support when they become aged and unable to work, and so on. Some children do not want to get married. However, their parents will persuade and coerce them to. What is the purpose? It is entirely for the parents themselves. Anyone who forces others and who imposes their will upon others is completely selfish and in no way lives for others. The more they claim, all that I do is for you, the more their extremely selfish and purposeful, concealed motives become revealed. No matter how deeply a husband and wife might love each other, it is essentially for each of themselves. Does any husband live completely for his wife? Does any wife live completely for her husband? Is there any? Of course not. Is there any king, president, or chairman who lives completely for their people? Of course not. In order to gain favor from their constituents so they can consolidate their power and maintain their positions, they have to gain favor from the people, and the more favor they gain, the more they benefit themselves. This is really quite a tacit understanding. When anyone says, I do this completely for the sake of the people, not for mine, or I do this completely for your own good, not for mine, they are attempting to fool the public. They are looking for scapegoats to hide their own inabilities, passing on their own incompetencies and irresponsibilities, conspiring to control others, attempting to impose their wills and wishes upon others, mistreating others in spirit and soul, increasing the burdens of spirit and soul on others by arousing their emotions, and are shirking their responsibilities. A good person should seek the truth from the facts with honesty, but with neither deception nor falsehood. Everyone lives for themselves and is responsible for themselves. Never repeatedly claim that you live for others or are responsible for others. When anyone claims, I did this for your own good, it can be concluded that they are a liar and that they are lying. When someone says, I live for you, it can be concluded that they are incompetent, greedy, selfish, and merciless. Someone says, I want to deliver all beings from torment. I say, bullshit. Why do you want to deliver all beings from torment? Everything is running in Tao. Need you not also? 只有共产主义才能救人类. Only communism can save mankind. Xiefeng. August 8th, 2016. Translated by Tsong Long, Ilian, and Tongxin, edited by Kair. Capitalism has achieved great progress for humanity. Transportation and communication are very convenient and produce is abundant in today's society. The Earth supports 7 billion people, mainly as a result of capitalistic development. Without capitalism, today's civilization could not exist. Capitalists are the elite of society. They have generated much material wealth for people and resolved unemployment issues for a large number of people. Without capitalists, many more of us would be very poor and suffer underdeveloped and empty lives. However, the development of capitalism has gradually revealed three major issues that it cannot overcome: the unequal distribution of wealth, the overconsumption of natural resources, the further intensified trend of selfishness and greed from human nature. As reported by CNS New York on January 20th, 2015, the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world possess 48% of the world's wealth. The following 19% possess 46%, and the bottom 80% only possess 5.5%. The unequal distribution of wealth will result in a series of social problems such as a desire to be wealthy quickly and its resulting illegal activities, hostility against the wealthy, production of counterfeit goods, seizing of resources, illicit drug production and trafficking, jealousy and struggling, stealing, cheating, blackmailing, exploiting, gambling, speculating, and corrupting because of feeling psychologically unbalanced, violence. All these problems cannot be resolved through capitalistic production relations. The second issue caused by the development of capitalism is the unreasonable and huge consumption of natural resources. Professor Mohan Munasingh, the vice chair of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and a board member of Green Cross International, said that by 2012, we had overdrawn 50% of the sustainable natural resources of the Earth, and he predicted that if we continue pursuing our current lifestyles, we would need those of two planets to meet the demand of the total population by 2030. Not only is the excessive consumption of natural resources unable to support a sustainable future, but it will also lead to a series of natural disasters. The deterioration of the natural environment in recent years is very evident. Global warming, drought and drying riverbeds, floods, hurricanes, thawing permafrost, and the disappearing Arctic ice cap as ancient glaciers melt and result in a rise of sea level, destruction of biodiversity, and polluted rivers, sea, and soil, to name just a few. Even more severe are the natural disasters which are aggravating, not by a small percentage, but rather at a geometric rate. Due to this climate change, it is possible that within the next 15 years, many places on Earth will become uninhabitable. The number of refugees caused by natural disasters could reach hundreds of millions, which could lead to social upheavals. And if that happens, the United Nations and the existing governments will be impotent. The nature and development of capitalism are based on selfishness and greed. The ultimate purpose of the efforts of almost everyone is to get more resources and wealth for themselves. In order to meet their growing and changing desires, people are working hard day and night in order to acquire more wealth and resources, which in turn aggravates the selfish consciousness and actions. Excessive development and consumption driven by endless desires of human beings are the core drivers that lead to pollution, global warming, destruction of biodiversity, and other natural disasters. Stephen Hawking once predicted that selfishness will lead to the destruction of the human race within 200 years. Except for the three big conditions of inequitable distribution of wealth, uncontrolled consumption of natural resources, and selfishness and greed, others such as financial turmoil, massive global military spending, fast population growth, huge numbers of civil servants in each country, and large amounts of waste, are problems that cannot be overcome within our current system. Stephen Hawking predicted that the end could come within 200 years. It is becoming clear, however, that if these issues are not resolved soon and if things continue to deteriorate, it could very likely happen within less than 100 years. The U.S. is the most developed capitalist country in the world, and its consumption of natural resources is so large that, according to Singapore's newspaper Zaobao, if everyone in the world consumed what the average American does, we would need 5 Earths to meet their demand. In addition, according to a report in the American Aerospace Daily of April 11, 2016, data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, showed that global defense spending in 2015 totaled about $1.7 trillion, and the top spender, the U.S., reached $596 billion. Given the reality of the U.S.'s consumption of natural resources and its military spending, natural resources will surely become depleted eventually as a result of the development of capitalism. A country whose population accounts for less than 4% of the world's total is consuming 25% of the Earth's resources. If every country were to do as the U.S. does, humanity would surely face a dead end. Population expansion is a major world problem. According to statistics from the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, the world population is increasing at a rate of 80 million people per year. A recent report from the UN forecasts that the world population will increase from 7.3 billion in 2015 to 8.1 billion by 2023 and to 9.6 billion by 2050. With these increases of population and with the rise of people's consumption levels, the demand for natural resources will also increase. For example, to meet the demands of 73 million people for food, clothing, accommodations, and transportation, etc., a huge amount of natural resources must be consumed. The resources of our Earth are limited. However, the increase of population is unlimited. We have limited water and land resources, so how are we going to handle this challenge? If we do not have a feasible plan to control the population growth or change our lifestyles and production modes, one day the resources will become exhausted and humanity's doom will not be much farther away, no matter how many UN meetings are held or what efforts the governments of each country take. We are facing a huge crisis. The best way to overcome this is to gradually move toward a communist lifestyle. In other words, only communism can save the world. Communism is not just a new lifestyle and a new production system. It is a noble faith. It is the essence of the thoughts of many saints and sages ever since the ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote of an ideal lifestyle that is desired by ordinary citizens. Communism represents universal values. Social issues such as racial discrimination, religious disputes, state rivalries, national extremes, distribution inequity, selfishness and greed, resource waste, territorial disputes, population growth, huge military spending, government overstaffing and corruption, and high volumes of waste can all be resolved and eliminated through communism. In addition, communism can purify our souls and sublimate our characters, and it will not only make materially abundant lives possible, but the state of global happiness will be elevated as well. The communism I discuss here is very different from the communism described by Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Mao Zedong. The way it realizes the communist production relationship has essential differences from the ways carried out by Lenin and Mao. Please do not jump to the conclusion that the communism I mentioned is like your previous experience and perception of the term. To differentiate between our communism and that described by Marx, Lenin, and Mao, we temporarily name ours Xiefeng-style communism. Xiefeng-style communism has been running for over 7 years, and it has proven through practice that Xiefeng-style communism can be fully realized under current conditions. Xiefeng-style communism can resolve the crises of unequal distribution of wealth, intemperate consumption of natural resources, population expansions, financial storms, huge military expenditures, overstaffed civil offices, and disposal problems. Moreover, Xiefeng-style communism will bring an unprecedented bright life to the human condition. Xiefeng-style communism has realized the following after 7 years' practice. From each according to his ability, and to each according to his needs. Everyone has something to do and a place in which to live, and people never need to worry about making a living. Everyone does their best according to their talents and abilities. No one pockets anything found on the road, and doors are unbolted at night. There is no stealing, cheating, robbing, or concealing of goods. There is no marriage and no family. Also, there is no currency within the community. Love is free, but there is no sexual promiscuity or venereal disease. The environment of the community is beautiful, clean, and orderly. Nobody has personal belongings. Everything belongs to the community and everyone is selfless. Illness is reduced to the minimum and the average expenditure on medical care is less than UN 200 RMB per person per year. If we live this lifestyle, aging would slow down and the average lifespan would exceed 80 years. However, our ideal is for everyone to live up to 120 years and to die peacefully and without illness. The young will get a proper education and the old will be well taken care of. Rearing and educating children will no longer be their parents' responsibility. There will be no widows or empty nest elderly. Also, there would be no undisciplined or neglected children. People live in harmony with others, with society, and with nature. Over the last 7 years, Xiefeng-style communism has never had any conflicts with neighbors or with the outside world. We have never hurt little animals such as birds, snakes, or fish. We have planted many trees and flowers which not only beautified the environment, but also brought vigor and vitality to our community. Over the last 7 years, no crime has taken place within our community, and fighting is extremely rare. We use no chemical fertilizers or pesticides in our fields. Human and animal wastes are well composted into fertilizer. Also, we separate rubbish from waste and purify the sewage. Zero pollution has been nearly accomplished. We have no administrators, no leaders, and no offices within the community. Also, there is no command or force, and everyone consciously and generously infuses himself into his work because every member is also a laborer. We have no religious rituals or activities, and there are no spells or idolatry. In all affairs, whether big or small, the responsibilities are well divided. Traditional heavy housework has been eliminated. We only celebrate festivals of nature, such as Chinese Spring Festival, Qingming Festival, Dragon Boat Festival, and Mid-Autumn Festival. Apart from natural festivals, we celebrate no other festivals, and we do not celebrate individual birthdays. We keep communications open with the outside world. Everyone communicates with the outside world by telephone, email, and WeChat Messenger. Strict screening is required before anyone may enter our community, but anyone can leave the community freely. We are self-sufficient. We are not supported from the outside world, nor do we need to be. We do not take capitalist wealth. Every member relocates to a new facility every 3 years to avoid aesthetic fatigue, forming cliques, or being trapped into relationships. All the resources are highly shared and utilized. For example, 150 people within our community share 5 cars. However, under capitalism, 4 people typically share a car. In this case, 150 people save 32 cars. We can enjoy very good lives with only 1/4 of the resources needed in a capitalist system. There are no rules and no discipline with punishment. We comply only with the natural and civilization Tao. A strong credit system has been established. Those who are dishonest will fail, as in the parable of the long spoons. Birth control is well carried out. No children have been born in our community during the last 7 years. One reason for this is to comply with national laws and regulations, and another is to lighten the burden of the nearly fully loaded planet. The funeral system of Xiefeng-style communism is such that no matter who passes on, only simple farewell ceremonies are held. Their bodies are committed to fire, and their ashes are sprinkled to nature. We have no graves, mausoleums, or urns, ash boxes. If measured by GPI, Genuine Progress Indicator, HDI, Human Development Index, and NHI, National Happiness Index, it goes without saying that the Xiefeng-style communist community is at the forefront. If the whole world can do the above, all humanity's crises would disappear quickly. Here, I want to say to all the capitalists that Xiefeng-style communism would not take your wealth away. To the contrary, it would bring you safety and stability. It would provide you with soulfulness and spiritual abundance. We human beings not only need financial well-being, but also soulful and spiritual well-being. Xiefeng-style communism helps people to achieve their highest levels of self-transcendence. As stated in Abraham Maslow's demand theory, you would lead very good lives. If you do not carry out communism, there will be no escape from the poor, because when a huge crisis comes, your armies and police will not be able to protect you. The wealth you possess will not save you. Here I want to say to the head of each country's government that Xiefeng-style communism would not interfere with your management, nor would it threaten or harm to your powers and positions. We are neither a religious group nor a political group. We are just a completely new production and life model. Please understand this. The person who has strong beliefs and ideals would never covet after short-lived power and position, nor would they waste valuable time on possessions and vanity. Here I want to say to the 80% of people who own only 5.5% of the world's wealth that your only way out is to move towards Xiefeng-style communism, that no matter what you do, you are not able to ascend to the upper classes. Your lives are constant struggles to survive. When you suffer from illness or natural disaster, you are set way back. For even those of you who own hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, that is only a drop in the bucket. If there is no food for a month, you would know hunger. Therefore, you should long for communism and devote yourselves to communism. Only communism can save you. Taking stopgap measures cannot solve humanity's problems. The only way out is for the whole world to transit to Xiefeng-style communism. How does capitalism transfer to Xiefeng-style communism? With keen eyesight and an open mind and heart, observe, investigate, visit, learn, and study the successful, practical experience of Xiefeng-style communism in our community. The transition should be supported by the United Nations and executed by the respective government of each country, with specific plans and steps. Do not practice this as a worldwide movement, but experiment in small regions at first. Each country should start with from 1 to 3 experimental regions. If they are successful, then they should spread it gradually. If not, then can give it up. In this way, such practices would not inhibit the normal operation of the current system, and it would also be good for exploring the methods and ways of eliminating the current crises which face humanity. Throughout the whole practice, Xiefeng-style communism will not deprive capitalists of their property, and capitalists can continue their commercial activities by following market law. Once half the people on Earth enter this communist lifestyle, and when the capitalists see that communist life is more ideal than their current lives, they will embrace it and become willingly involved with the exploration and practice of Xiefeng-style communism. Not putting requirements on anybody at any time is the core principle of Xiefeng-style communism. People who are involved in the production and life of Xiefeng-style communism must first have a soul garden purification. Capitalism is created and realized by stimulating people's selfishness, greed, wisdom, and skill to realize individual value through attaining resources, wealth, status, rights, and fame. However, Xiefeng-style communism is created by positively inspiring the qualities of sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty deep within people's hearts to climb to the highest realm of temporary life and eternal life. Without purifying one's soul garden, the laziness, selfishness, and greed of people cannot be overcome, and such people are not suitable for a communist lifestyle. After 7 years' practice, Xiefeng-style communism is still not perfect. We are still exploring it as walking a tightrope or walking on thin ice, which means that we need wise and judicious people from all over the world to point our mistakes out, to offer advice, and to practice it together. We need understanding as well as involvement and support from governments much more. The future is bright, but the road is tortuous. No matter how tough the path and how much difficulty we encounter, we need to make every effort to succeed. Only by making strong effort can we have hope, but once we give up making this effort, the future will definitely be bleak. 耶稣要我们别结婚成家. Jesus never wanted us to marry. Xiefeng, April 29, 2008. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. The teachings of Jesus is the way of life and truth and the journey to heaven. Jesus is Christ and the Savior. Following his instructions and living according to his instructions is our main guarantee of going to heaven. There are 2.1 billion Christians in the world, but only a small percentage of them truly understand his teachings, and even fewer live according to them. The vast majority are what we call Sunday Christians or verbal Christians, not real ones. Let us illustrate with the example of marrying and starting families. Jesus told us not to marry and start families. Why? On what basis? First of all, we need to know that in his time, he could not tell people directly not to do that. Otherwise, he could not preach to them, so he managed to speak in parables not to be understood directly. He said, "The knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them." At the same time, he also said not to give that which is holy to the dogs, or put your jewels before pigs. That is to say, the core contents would not be told directly. However, as long as we have a deep understanding of his words, we can comprehend their meanings. The book of Matthew tells us what Jesus wants us to know about marrying and starting families. Matthew 10 verse 35. Jesus said, "I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn men against their fathers, daughters against their mothers, and daughters-in-law against their mothers-in-law. People's foes shall be from within their own households. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Matthew 12 verse 50. Jesus said, "For whoever does the pleasure of my Father in heaven, they are my brother and sister and mother." Matthew 19:9, 19:11. Jesus said, "I tell you that any man who divorces his wife except for marital unfaithfulness and marries another woman commits adultery." The disciples asked, "If this is the situation between husbands and wives, then is it best not to marry?" And Jesus said, "Not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it has been given. The ones who can accept this should accept it." Here, Jesus came very close to explaining that clearly. The disciples asked, "Best not to marry?" And Jesus encouraged the unmarried lifestyle. Not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it has been given. What was this word? It was not to marry. Therefore, not to marry is something that has been given. Only those to whom it has been given could understand the meaning of not to marry, but others could neither understand nor accept it. Matthew 19 verse 29. Therefore, Jesus Christ stressed further, "And everyone who has given up houses, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or child, or land for my name will be given 100 times as much and have eternal life." Life genuine advocates that people not marry, break up nuclear families, and hope that married couples will become Chanyuan celestials together so they can end their marriage bonds as implemented in accordance with the teachings of Jesus Christ. The profound meaning of not to marry and start a family is for letting people enter the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 22 verse 30. Jesus told us clearly, "For when they come back from the dead, there will be no husbands or wives, but they will be as the angels in heaven." This further indicates that those who enter into the kingdom of heaven have not married, and that those who have married cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why? Can those who marry not enter the kingdom of heaven? The answer is, no, they cannot, and the reasons can be found in Life Genuine, Chanyuan Corpus and Siefeng Corpus. That is it. I have given a further explanation, but whether you can understand it or not is up to your own considering and judging. Therefore, what Siefeng says does not go against the teachings of Jesus Christ, but carries out Jesus' teachings faithfully. Christians all over the world, do you understand? Do you deserve to be Christians when you are obsessed with marrying and loving your families? Do not shout, "Lord, Lord." Jesus will not hear you. 进入新时代需要转换的意识 the new consciousness for the new era. Xiefeng. Those who wish to be a part of the new era of life genuine must realize and accept these 18 requirements. Abandon atheism and the theory of evolution and accept the reality of the greatest creator and follow the way of the greatest creator. Abandon the concepts of ego, family, religion, political party, and state, and form the consciousness of global citizens. Shift from the belief that reality creates consciousness to the belief that consciousness creates reality. Repudiate the God of the Old Testament of the Bible and establish the new idea of the greatest creator. Negate the view of fortuity and establish the view of inevitability. Shift from the view of disorder to that of causality. Accept the existence of different levels of life besides that which we see on the earth. Accept that life consists of a material entity and a spiritual one. Accept that death is not the end of life, but only the beginning of a new journey of life. Accept the reality of the existence of heaven and hell. Understand that there is no ultimate judgment, but that judgment is ongoing and universal. Understand that our futures are determined by us and shaped by our own hands. Understand that whether one has a good future or a bad one depends on whether their non-material structure is perfect or deficient. Abandon personal heroism and elite consciousness and lower oneself to the humblest of position. Understand that what one reaps, so shall they sow, and that we need to contribute more but ask for less in return to accumulate our merits and virtues and to sublimate our quality of life. Understand that only by embracing sincerity, kindness, and virtue can we perfect our own structures of life, completely abandon attack and revenge attitudes, and treat everything kindly. Master the principle of the Mobius net, unify opposites, and give up one's criticisms of the world. Understand that life has an infinite future, and only those who pursue the highest realm of life can have the most splendid future. It is only in this way that we can enter the new era. 国家必将消失，国家正在消亡. States are bound to disappear, and they are doing so. Xiefeng. February 9th, 2018. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. As Zhejiang predicted in his Divination Before Saddled Horses, the talented will be put to good use, and the whole world will be one family, is the general trend of human social development as marriages and families, states, political parties, and religions are becoming decadent. This is a law of the evolution of society that cannot be stopped. Today, artificial intelligence is growing, a black swan which is flying high. The world is rapidly moving toward a new pattern. All the efforts to maintain those marriages and families, states, political parties, and religions are not only fatuous, but even futile. In 2002, I predicted that marriages and families would disappear. That marriages and families, just like foot binding for girls which was popular in the Southern Song dynasty, would be regarded as symbols of backwardness and fatuity. Today, the rise of the global divorce rate and the rapid increase in the percentage of single people prove that my prediction is becoming a reality. Looking back upon marriages and families from 20 or 30 years hence, people will see them as ridiculous as foot bindings for girls. Marriages and families are the same as states. The present states are equivalent to primitive tribes. Those tribes have died out, and so will states. This must happen because the existence of states seriously restricts the development of the productive forces and the leap of human civilization. Even more horrible is that states are the chief criminal agents which cause military conflicts, overconsumption of resources, purging of human rights, and the destruction of the ecology. All states are actually jails which keep their people in perpetual bondage in their names. It is right to love one's hometown and one's motherland, but wrong to love their state. Places have emotional ties, but states are violent machines. The bankruptcy of states will be disastrous for those in power, but glad tidings and welfare for their nationals. Let us use China as an example to show this. At present, who would think that the extinction of what used to be states but are now provinces was not a good thing? It is precisely because of the extinction of those states that there is a unified China today. Is this not a good thing for the people? At least we do not need visas, nor to deal with customs agents to travel throughout China. How great! If China were again divided into Qi, Chu, Yin, Han, Zhao, Wei, Qin, even add Xixia, Dali, Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, Tibet, and Manchuria, we would not be able to travel freely between those provinces. How do you feel? It would absolutely not be a good thing for the people. So we can imagine that if there were no states in the world today, and that if all states disappeared, the people would be able to flow freely throughout the world. What a great thing that would be for ordinary people. Therefore, all states are morally bankrupt, and they must all disappear. How can all states be bankrupt and disappear? Facebook has nearly 2 billion users. It has actually become a great invisible power. Mark Zuckerberg has a great plan to build a global community, actually a global government, and as more and more citizens of the Earth join Facebook, the existing states will gradually exist in name only. On February 7, 2018, the private American company, SpaceX, launched a super heavy-duty carrier rocket, Falcon Heavy, far beyond all the satellites in orbit. Their power to launch rockets far exceeds those of Russia, the United States, and China. This shows that if thousands of private enterprises like SpaceX were to appear, then these private enterprises could completely solve all the problems of the world and the existence of the state would be totally unnecessary. In South Africa, Michael Tellinger launched the Ubuntu movement. As this movement becomes more and more popular and is implemented more widely, the existence of the state will become less and less necessary. Someone proposed that the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand should form a federal republic. Would that not be great? I believe that the vast majority of citizens within those four countries would cheer. The more quickly that such proposals come into being, the sooner that states will disappear. If the European Union, the African Union, and South America were to unify, then most states would exist in name only. There are thousands of spiritual, ecological consensus communities in the world and their numbers are growing. These communities have been created to solve the problems of food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, aging, illness, death, and life sublimation on their own, and none of them are willing to be controlled by any government. With the establishment and development of more and more communities, who will still need huge administrative expenses to bully people, who would want the government to control people and tell them when to urinate and when to defecate. In 2009, I predicted that great disasters around 2013 would not happen. Instead, there would be stepwise, reciprocating, and more serious natural climatic changes. The natural climatic changes over the past 9 years have proven my prediction to be accurate. In the prologue of the third edition of 800 Values for New Era Human Being, I said, a new era for humanity will begin on New Year's Day of 2018, and it will last for a millennium. The first 30 years will be a time for soul purification and the elimination of outdated consciousnesses. A large-scale soul purification will be necessary for humanity. Those consciousnesses which are not suitable for the needs of the new era will be eliminated. The following 10 years will be a transitional period. The traditional production and life modes will be replaced by new models. After that, humanity will enter a harmonious era when all religions will unite as one. Favorable weather will prevail throughout the year, and everyone will enjoy happy, joyous, free, and blessed lives. This new era will last till the end of the year 3017-inch. In other words, from January 1st, 2018 through the succeeding 20 years, and especially through the first 10 years, unimaginable climatic changes will take place. Refugees from these changes will be countless, and the problems of dealing with the refugee crisis will become more and more difficult. From 2028 to 2038, people will have to compete for survival resources. Their struggles will be unrestrained, impossible to suppress, and extremely cruel. The first 10 years will produce continuous natural disasters, and the succeeding 10 years will be filled with many human misfortunes. This will calm down in 2048 because the population on the Earth will have become much smaller and a stateless world will have been born. Artificial intelligence is evolving in geometric progression. The AlphaGo robot has defeated human beings in many thought experiments. People will still be people after 10 years, but by that time, AlphaGo will have evolved into a super biological robot. Comparing those super biological robots' intelligence to that of today's biological robots would be like comparing human intelligence to that of primitive, four-legged mammals. Professor Kaplan of Stanford University has come up with these statistics. 47% of 720 jobs considered in the United States will be replaced by artificial intelligence. In China, this proportion may exceed 70%. 10 years later, when super biological robots begin to take over the world, states will undoubtedly be swept into history museums. Everything is advancing too rapidly in this era to predict what will happen next. Maybe black swans will fly as we wake up someday, and the world will have changed into something unimaginable, something that we are at a total loss for. By then, such things as states are bound to have vanished completely. In the face of the state, how does every citizen treat it? Do not work hard for your countries because all of those efforts will be in vain. Do not regard yourselves as American, Japanese, or Vietnamese anymore, but think of yourselves as citizens of the earth. Imagining that your state does not exist and consider how you will survive without it. Now, affairs of the family, the state, and the earth are inconsequential. What really matters is your survival. Do not waste precious time listening to the lies and constant haranguing emitted by your governments and their apologists. Governments are not reliable at all. They can never be relied upon. It is no better to rely on a government than to rely on pigs. It is more useful to raise pigs than to raise a government. Join Facebook, the Ubuntu movement, an ecological community, a super private enterprise, a civilized and powerful state, or any crowd that cannot be destroyed by super biological robots. Do not wait until tomorrow, do it today. Escape from unfair societies with scarce resources and dense populations where morals have degenerated as soon as possible. At all times, be vigilant and be alert. Be anchored against the wind, dig deep holes, accumulate grain extensively, and find your way out. Please say good words as much as you can. Hundun Celestial, December 11, 2006. Translated by Tong Xin and edited by Kair. The ancients said, just as bitter medicine cures sickness, so unpalatable advice benefits conduct. This is half right. The other half should be, the favorable weather benefits the growth of grains, so good and sweet words benefit the affections. Life Genuine implements the latter half. Nobody is perfect and flawless. Life is short, so why aim at each other's flaws? Everyone has their unique advantages and shining characteristics, and everyone has their bright spots that are worthy of being appreciated. If we point to other people's flaws, those flaws will be enlarged. But if we appreciate other people's advantages, then their advantages will be enlarged. In order to make people happy and joyful, I advocate being blind to other people's flaws, but to appreciate their bright spots instead. If we continue doing so for a long time, everyone will become kind and merciful, will have glorious hearts, and will be grateful and reasonable. Therefore, in Life Genuine, please say good words as much as you can. As long as you do not mean to hurt people, you may say whatever you want. Humorous words, lively words, and wise words are all welcome, and as long as you can make others feel happy and pleasant, you will have earned merit. Life is not easy. So many troubles and worries torture people and steal their smiles. So why add frost on snow and make it worse when we get together? Without us, the earth would still rotate normally and other people would still live without any problems. So why should you make others unhappy? I oppose being picky and nibbling, and I oppose wrangling and arguing or teaching others wisdom I have gained, as if I am telling myself. I will not dare to do this in the future, and I will correct this whenever I can. In all situations, if we have reasons, we state them, but we do not suggest that other people are unreasonable. Life Genuine is the homeland for spirits and souls. To create a warm and harmonious atmosphere is our ideal and our expectation. The relationships among Chanyuan Celestials are the relationships of brothers and sisters, and relatives and lovers. We care and love each other, encourage and appreciate each other. We need to grow with encouragement and praise, but not hurt with arguments and criticism. Dear guests, please understand that this is Life Genuine. We will spread such style to every corner of the world and create the Life Genuine era by following the principle of the favorable weather benefits the growth of grains, so good and sweet words benefit the affections. Therefore, if you are picky when you enter Life Genuine and say this is not good or that is unsuitable, then you are surely not welcome here. The world is big, so please be merciful and allow us to cultivate our own small fields in our own way. Say good words as much as you can and just keep those picky and critical words to yourself. 乾坤颠倒，仙女为尊，禅院新理念. The reversal of heaven and earth, respect for women, new value of Chanyuan. Xiefeng. The heaven is superior and the earth is inferior. Man is superior and woman is inferior. This is what is preached in Confucian theories. Confucius is an ancient saint in China and traditional moral ethics. This concept is reversed in Life of Chanyuan. Namely, men are green leaves and women are flower petals. In heaven and on earth, women are superior. The reasons are as follows. The source is superior. The source of life is the greatest creator. In the universe, the greatest creator is supreme. Women are superior. The greatest creator has created life, which then propagate by itself, mainly through female. So women are superior. Mother is respectable. After 10 months of gestation, life comes from the mother. So mother should be respected and women should be superior. Sisters and daughters are all women. We should protect sisters and daughters. So women are superior. Women are not as strong as men and are vulnerable to harm. So for the equality and balance, women should be respected. The spirit of the valley never dies. It is called the mystic female. The door of the mystic female is the root of heaven and earth. Xianpin, mystic female, is the female reproductive organ, the root of heaven, which should be revered. So women are superior. Buddha is gender, gender is Buddha, the gate of gender is the gate of Buddhas. Only women have the gate of gender. So when we respect Buddhas, we should also respect female. Women are soft and quiet. They love peace and gentleness. They are merciful and kind in nature. They are broad-minded and thus should be respected. In Life of Chanyuan, considerations should be given first to fairies. Fairies are lotus flowers and fairies are green leaves to protect the flowers. Men should not contend with women. For die in the face of danger, men should go forward to face the danger and place women behind for protection. Protection. 5. Women take precedence over men in the matter of enjoyment. 6. Men shall take initiative in doing heavy and dirty and tiring tasks, while light, skilled, and clean work shall be reserved for women. 7. Men are not permitted to humiliate, desecrate, abuse, beat, maltreat, persecute, scorn, and deride women. 8. Men are not permitted to limit women's freedom of person, spirit, and soul in the name of love. This idea is debatable around the broad masses. Anyone who disagrees to it can put forward solid evidences and theories. Only a simple expression of complaint is not enough. January 10, 2011. 人类遏制气候恶化的唯一途径. The only way to restrain climate deterioration. Xiefeng. November 19, 2018. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. Can the Kyoto Protocol or the Paris Agreement restrain climatic deterioration? It is an unrealistic and completely impossible joke to think so. And those projects to restrain global warming from some countries are even less possible. The core factor in climatic degradation is not carbon emissions and the pollution of land, air, and water. Nor is it a matter of cattle and sheep digesting and producing methane gas, but rather, it is one of the human soul. Your state of consciousness determines your living environment, and the overall reality is a projection of humanity's consciousness. Without changes of human consciousness and the purification of people's souls, it will be absolutely impossible to reverse the deterioration of our climate and our environment. This is an issue that can be resolved very easily. So what data analyses, computer simulations, and dedicated researches are needed? Will it be necessary for the United Nations to organize international conferences and meetings to discuss and formulate programs repeatedly? Our environmental problem is one of people's souls, and the first thing necessary is to reverse and to purify them, but this cannot be accomplished by the UN or by any state or states, but only by everyone involving and purifying their own souls individually. This purification of human souls must be carried out from theoretical directions and with new orders of construction, both at the same time. As for theoretical guidance, I have offered a plan to prepare everyone, but they need to learn from me and abide by me. The order of construction is to replace the traditional production and life modes of society with a new one according to the model of the new oasis for life as created by Life Genuine. This is the only way to reverse the deterioration of our environment. Honestly, though, it is too late to take action even if society were to begin immediately. I have shouted and appealed for at least the last decade, but instead of